In today's video, we're diving deep underground to the home of the Shimmer, where I'll be building a seedy underworld Shimmer factory for the new Shimmer Pylon added in 1.4.5. We have a lot to get into, so let's jump straight into it. Greetings friends, Khaios here. We're back with the Pylon Redux Series, bringing in the final 5. The next pylon we build is randomly selected, and so far we've built pylons for the jungle, ocean, mushroom, underworld, hollow, and universal pylons. If you missed any of those and want to check them out, there's a playlist linked in the description with all of the builds for these. Today we'll be covering the Shimmer Pylon, and at the end of the video, I'll be pulling this lever and we'll be rolling the Pylon randomizer once again to see what we're building in the next video. For today's pylon, I'm going to take some very loose inspiration from the Netflix show Arcane. I've only played League of Legends a handful of times when my friends dragged me along. I know next to nothing about the lore, and I've only seen the first season of the show, but that said, something about an illegal Undercity Shimmer production site sounds like a lot of fun. Now, when I say this is loosely inspired by Arcane, I mean this is as loose as a goose in a noose. That is to say, I like the idea of an underground Shimmer production facility, but I won't be using any of the styles or architecture from the show. It's just a general inspiration. So I'm gonna get started by diving down to the Shimmer, draining the area, and lighting it up. But before we get to the first time-lapse, if you all are interested in watching me play games outside of Terraria, I just launched a new YouTube channel called Chaos Theory. My first video was a lighthearted mocking of AI while I built a house in House Flipper 2, and my next video will be a Subnautica playthrough. My goal is to get one video out a week, however some games or videos may take longer or shorter than others, and my primary focus is still right here with Terraria, so videos will come out when they're done. In addition to the 2 games I mentioned, I also plan on playing Stardew Valley, Core Keeper, Hytale, Valheim, and more. I'm not going to leave any game off the list. Anything that catches my eye, I might play it. The entire point of the channel is variety gaming, but I will always have a love for sandbox games where I can build, so you will see quite a few of them there. If that sounds interesting to you, please consider checking out the new channel, linked in the description and pinned comment. Give the first video a watch, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you catch my Subnautica video when it drops. Now, let's dive into the build. There's not a huge amount to talk about for this time-lapse, as I'm mostly just draining the Shimmer, then landscaping with some stone and boulder block, plus some craggy stone wall and worn stone wall, and some temporary placed diamond gem spark wall with white torches to help light up the area since building underground is so dark. While I work on that build, I'll just give you all a heads up and say that I ran into some issues with recording today. A large segment of footage froze towards the end of the video, and I ended up recording a camera account when I meant to record the main account, so this is a bit shorter of a video than usual, and I'll be making a sizable jump from the house building stage to the final show, but we'll get to that later. With the landscape done for now, I can start talking about what the plan is for today. So I dumped a bunch of Shimmer down here temporarily just because I wanted to show you what it would look like in the area with the Shimmer biome. But I will be lighting up the area. As you can see, when you light it up, you can see inside of the Shimmer just fine. Now, I could technically use an Aether monolith to turn off the effect of the Shimmer. So if we set it to its 3rd setting, it'll actually get rid of the starry background and everything while maintaining the Aether biome. The pylon would still work here, it just wouldn't look this way. And I'm not sure if that's the way I want to do it, because this isn't really meant to be like a Shimmer biome, I guess. This is meant to be a production facility for the Shimmer, and I'm wondering if it'll look better without all of the stars or with them. Either way, I just wanted to show you that that's how we could get rid of those stars if we didn't want them. I'll make a decision later on when it comes to the builds. I just wanted to talk about that really quick. Let me drain this water and we'll talk about what we're going to be doing in this cave. Okay, so I didn't realize this until after I recorded, but I'm very much having an off day today. I forgot to swap my recording software from the camera account to the main account. This segment was not meant to be a time-lapse, however, since I ended up recording the wrong angle, it's a time-lapse now. For this segment, I'm starting to build the Undercity foundation, making it look like there's a concrete structure with Titanstone block. Next, I start placing gray painted palladium column and dynasty wood to make some pipes that are coming from the city above, leaking down into this forgotten and abandoned area. Using Titanstone wall with white paint, I create large foundation segments that are stretching down into the cavern below. I don't want them to appear clean and fully intact, so I break some walls along the edges and swap in some gray painted Hellstone brick wall to make it look like the concrete foundation has been crumbling slowly over time, carrying that style to all of the wall segments, including some that you can't see just off to the left, as my camera account wasn't set up in an ideal location for this, as I intended to record my main perspective. Next, I'm going to build some background sewage drains that are leaking some toxic looking sludge from the background walls. This is something I tested out when I made a video for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Day, and I'll cover how it's done in a second when I realized my mistake and that I recorded the wrong camera angle. I absolutely did not mean to do this segment as a time-lapse. I just completely forgot to switch which scene I was recording in OBS. Silly mistake, but you got a time-lapse out of that, and I explained what I did in the time-lapse for the most part, but I'm going to show you one more grate a little bit more up close, because I did this technique in a recent-ish video that I ended up delisting because it just wasn't performing well, and I didn't want the algorithm to punish my channel, which is kind of silly in hindsight because the algorithm has been doing nothing but punishing my channel anyway. So I'm just going to show you exactly what we're doing here. So we got some spike blocks around the edges, they're unpainted and they're actuated, and in the middle I'm going to do sharp spike block because when they blend they start getting this nice great pattern, and I want to get that on the bottom as well. So how I'm going to do that is with two echo blocks right there and right there. You can't see them, but they're there, and I'm going to slope them so that they grab onto the block above, kind of like this. You see how these grab onto the block above? We'll do the same here and right there, causing these to blend together and completing that great look. Great as in G-R-A-T-E, not G-R-E-A-T. Then with black paint, I just hit the walls in here to make it black and make it look like it's hollow going into the background. Then we grab some lime paint and some jellyfish wall, and we run it down to the floor, creating some of that toxic looking sludge from the Overcity. And lastly, we actuate it. And that's how I ended up making all of the grates that were done in that time lapse. I just wanted to show that to you really quick. Now I'm going to take the Mighty Tidy and we're just going to make some stalactites and stalagmites around. Actually, I might save the stalagmites for later, the ones that sit on the floor, because I'm going to be building houses and probably a bridge and some other decorations on the floor. So I'll do that last possibly, but I'll do some of these along the ceiling. So with the Shimmer, it's kind of got this pinkish purplish hue to it, and I think it might be fun to try and make some glowing mushrooms that look like they might have some liquid pustules in them and might be around that color. So I'm going to be taking some purple paint and mushroom grass seeds and some mud, and I'm going to be placing down pockets of grass for mushrooms to grow on, though I'm going to be building custom mushrooms primarily. I just want to have a bit of a mushroom field throughout the area, Plus, once we get rid of all of these torches, it's going to be relatively dark, and the glowing mushroom grass will help illuminate the area a little bit more. I do wish that mud blended with stone in the same way that dirt does, where it doesn't create a hard line, but it's still going to look okay like this, especially when we get the Aether biome turned on. I think that's close enough to reach we could show. It's going to be fairly dark under here, and even less so without the white torches. So actually, I could probably just give you all a little quick example of it right now. So with the way that mushroom grass works is it's going to produce a light color based off of the color that you paint it, and it's not super bright, so we can get rid of these white torches, at least temporarily, and to show you what this is going to look like. It'll come out something like this in the end, which I think looks pretty good. Honestly, that looks better like this than it does like this. And I think this solidifies it for me. I think it will not be using the Aether monolith to get rid of the Aether biome effect. I think I'm going to keep it because I actually like the way that this looks even more in this fashion. It feels like it matches the shimmer a bit more. Regardless, this is what it's going to look like there. We'll have some along the ceiling, not a whole lot. I just want a couple of vines growing here and there. And then I'm thinking another patch of this grass on this little island right here as well. With maybe some of the vines growing on the underside, just like this. And I'm not sure if I'll do any more pockets of mushroom grass in the area, because I want to make it look like it's mostly just man-made down here with some natural cave here and there, and just have these pockets of mushroom grass being kind of like a natural feature around the Undercity build, but not necessarily a pivotal part of it. I think it's time to start working on some of the buildings. Let's start making some of these mushrooms. So I'm going to keep with the purple paint, and we're going to grab glowing mushroom, and I'm just going to set one up right here. It'll be fairly thin. Possibly, I'm deciding which way I want to curve it. I want it to look a little bendy. Then for the cap of the mushroom, I'm actually going to be using Nebula brick, still painted purple. And we'll just kind of wrap this around the stem of the mushroom and probably just build our way up like this. Then we could hammer it to smooth it all out and give it a decent looking mushroom shape. Actually, let's go a little bit wider than that. That's a little pointy down there. Then I could have some dangling bits of mushroom looking vines from it with some jellyfish wall. The jellyfish wall will also serve to produce a little bit more light inside of the nebula block. And maybe just a little bit more right here. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I don't think I'm going to actuate it, because I think if I actuate it, it'll lose a lot of the effect that I'm going for with it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take some illuminant coating and not paint the blocks, because that'll pop out too much, but these walls, the jellyfish walls, that'll bring them out more to look more like the block in color, and make those dangling, waving little vines look like they're actually in the foreground and not in the background. And I think that's a lot better. Yeah, it definitely looks better with the shimmer effect. So once we get the shimmer added in, we will definitely not be using the monolith. And so let me just build several of these mushrooms, then we could start working on the actual buildings around the Undercity. I was about to work on some more mushrooms, and I was feeling like this looked too dark for the background, which looked lighter. I wasn't really happy with how they're coming together, so I started to experiment around with getting rid of the paint on the Titan stone wall, and I like it a lot more, but the Hellstone bricks don't look as good, so I've decided to swap those out after some experimentation. I'm going with Spider Wall with orange paint. It much more closely resembles the unpainted Titan stone wall, and still looks rough, so I think that's going to be the way that I go. So I'm going to remove all of this and now work on those mushrooms. With the mushrooms done, it's time to get started on the Undercity buildings. The rooftops will be made from copper and tin plating painted gray. For the main building, I decided to have some fun using the roof styles from my previous video where I showed you all 12 different rooftops, and I'm going to combine 2 styles into one. I take a butterfly roof, then create a flat segment to the left of it, making a split level butterfly rooftop. Then for the sidewalls, I decided on brown painted spooky wood as it is a really good worn wood option. For the floor, I went with gray painted ancient obsidian bricks as they look darker and more old than gray brick, and I'll carry that flooring throughout the entire area. Spike platforms make up the stairs that lead from the lower level to the upper level. A second smaller house with a split level flat roof is just to the right of the main building, and a third house to the left with the same materials as the first building. Next, I want to start working on the storage containers for the Shimmer production. There will have to be quite a bit of Shimmer to trigger the biome, so I need several large chambers. I start off by putting a big tank sticking out of the right side of the building. Another large one goes into the floor. The glass for all of these will be painted purple to help emphasize the glow of the Shimmer. I want to have pipes running through the Shimmer storage tanks, so I take some gray painted Dynasty wood, though I will eventually paint them white and actuate them. After adding some Shimmer in, I realize I am nowhere near the amount needed for the biome, so up goes another storage tank to the left of the house. After filling it, I'm still not triggering the biome, so I throw down a few more pipes and make several smaller storage tanks. 2 square ones go inside the floor, and 2 narrow tanks on the rooftop. I figured this will also add a bit of interesting diversity to the Shimmer storage area as well. But this is still not enough to trigger the biome, so I start testing out how much more Shimmer I'll need by dumping a bunch of it into the ground below. Even all of that Shimmer isn't enough to get the biome, so I know that I'm going to need a much larger tank. I build a large tank to the lower right of the big one in the floor, and after that, it's still not quite enough. I dump a little bit more into the mushroom area to get an idea of how close exactly I am, and after finally triggering the Aether biome, I decide to make a series of smaller tanks below the second building on the right. When these 4 tanks are done, I finally trigger the Aether biome. I set up an Aether monolith temporarily to hide the background because I don't want to flash a bunch of stars at your face while I work on this time-lapse. I clear out the torches and the gem spark, bringing the area closer to its final appearance. It's very dark, so I hang some carriage lanterns, though I will eventually swap them out for chain lanterns, and I'll even use echo-coated white torches to make them produce an even brighter light, so this build isn't quite so dark. Then I'll start working on the background walls for the buildings. They all have green slab wall painted gray at the bottom, with a row of ebon stone bricks above that. Brown painted spooky wood wall makes up the majority of the backgrounds, with some brown painted ash wood and large bamboo support beams. I feel like steampunk doors and furniture fit in really well here, so that's what I'm going to use for the most part. And some brown painted ebon wood fence makes up the guardrail on the stairs. At this point, I end the time-lapse recording and I start recording the next steps, where I'm talking about what furniture I'm going to use, as well as set up some examples, talk about where I'm going to put the pylon, and how I want to tie everything all together. But a few seconds into recording, the footage just freezes. I had no way of knowing this in the moment, as OBS still appeared to be recording and my Stream Deck still had a recording in progress button lit up, so it wasn't until I imported the raw footage into my editing software that I learned that I lost this segment. So at this point, we'll just be jumping straight to the final look of the build. And here we are with the final version of the build. All in all, I'm extremely happy with how it came together. I like how the Aether biome just sparkles in the background. We've got failings. I also threw in some prismatic lace wings into the area as well. It's got a whole bunch of damage, cobweb. It is broken down. It is hideous, and it is producing a ton of shimmer. I hope you all like this too, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to help tell YouTube that I'm doing a good job. Now don't leave just yet, because we are going to take ourselves all the way up to the surface to our randomizer, and we're going to roll it again to find out what we're building in the next video. Next, we're going to be doing the forest pylon. Finally, something on the far left side of the randomizer. That's kind of funny. So, thank you all very much for watching, and a special thanks to my biggest supporters for the month, Kasu, Slathos Powerup, Pombo, and Matthew Sedgwick. And be sure to check out my channel artist, MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Happy building.